Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Mouse's Makes. I haven't got a great deal of knitting to show you today, so in a little while we're going to take a bit of a trip down memory lane. But before we get started on that, I should do the proper podcastery thing and tell you that I'm wearing my Breezeway by Fogbound Knits. It's knit in, well, there isn't a colourway actually, and it's knit in 3 different colours. I did a fade. Sorry if you got a flash or something you shouldn't have done there. I don't think you did. From Knit and Pearl Yarns, from the year-long Advent calendar I had from her. I have worn it a lot. I just haven't worn it on the days that I'm podcasting, but I remembered to put it on today. I'm very pleased with it. The neckline is a little bit wider than I would like and it tends to drop off my shoulder, but that's okay. I can live with that. If I make it again, I think I'm going to go down a size so that it doesn't do that quite so much. But all in all, I am very pleased with it. So now I've done the proper podcaster thing of telling you what I'm wearing, I'm going to do the sock along bit. I'm getting really bored with saying this, and I'm sure you're really bored with hearing it, but there's only one more week after this week where I've got to do it, so we'll live. Right, there are 3 ways to enter and 2 prize threads to enter for. There is the Halloween prize, which is a bat fabric bag with a little bat set of little bat stitch markers and a mini skein set from Little Mouse House called Troll Music, and that's on her 75/25 superwash merino and nylon base. Then there is the birthday prize, which is this fishy bag with a flowery lining. The stitch marker set that comes with this, I've been asked to explain by one of our American viewers. I didn't even think about the fact that treats in different countries may not be in other countries. That didn't make any sense at all, but I think you know where I'm going for. So let me explain them as I show you them. There is a jammy dodger. A jammy dodger is a type of cookie, a sandwich cookie essentially. So you've got 2 biscuits, as we call them, sandwiched together with jam, and the top biscuit or cookie has a little heart shape cut into it. That's a jammy dodger. Birthday cake, fairly self-explanatory. Battenberg is a sponge cake and it's made up of 4 quarters, 2 yellow, 2 pink. I don't think they're flavoured. I've never, other than sort of, vanilla-y sponge flavour, I've never noticed a difference in flavour between them. They're stuck together with apricot jam, and around the outside is marzipan or almond paste if you prefer, again stuck on with apricot jam. And the last one, there is a little bit of debate about what type this is. It could be a Jaffa cake. And a Jaffa cake, for the uninitiated, is a circle of sponge. It's small, it's only about, inch or so across. Circle of sponge with some orange jam or marmalade covered in chocolate. That's a Jaffa cake. It could also be a chocolate shortcake, which is a shortbread biscuit covered in chocolate, or it could be a chocolate digestive. which is a wheat biscuit or cookie spread with chocolate. So I hope that makes it a little bit clearer for our viewers in other countries. I have to excuse my hair. I washed it this morning. I would normally wash it yesterday, but my hair washing schedule has got all out of kilter and I just can't do anything with it the day it's washed. Back on track again. Also included in the birthday prize is a sock set from, again, Little Mouse House, 85 superwash merino, 15% nylon, the scented candles sock set, and there is a skein of very pale grey to cream with a light green and a yellow mini skein. That's the birthday prize. To enter your finished socks, you can do so on Ravelry. If you go to the Mouses Makes, excuse me, I think I've inhaled some yarn. Go to the Mouses Makes group. There is a thread for posting your Halloween finished object socks or your birthday finished object socks, depending on which prize you want to go for. You are quite welcome to post them in both. You can also enter via Instagram using the hashtag MMBirthdayCal2021 or MMHalloweenCal2021, again depending on which prize you'd like to enter for, and again you can enter for both. If you can't use either of those platforms, you can email your finished socks to me at mousesmakes@gmail.com. Just remember to let me know which prize you want to enter them for. There will be an extra prize, and this extra prize is for my favourite pair across both, all the threads, all the ways of entry, all the socks essentially. My favourite pair of all the socks. The maker of those will win this Mouses Makes mug and a set of the Troll Music mini skeins. And I'm rather wishing that I hadn't said that I would do that, because choosing a favourite is proving to be quite hard already. And I suspect there's going to be a bit of a rush of socks over the next week and a half, leading up to the 31st, which is when it finishes. And I should really have told you that in the first place, shouldn't I? We also have running at the moment on a Thursday 2 Zoom sock along knit and nattery type meetings. One is in the morning at 11 o'clock British Summer Time, and the other is in the evening at 6 p.m. British Summer Time. If you would like to join in with us, email me, or the best way really is to contact me via Instagram, and I can add you to our chat group where I post a reminder on a Thursday, if I remember to remind you. I think that's all the sock-alongy stuff I need to tell you. I keep a piece of paper that has everything I need to tell you on, and I've lost it. I've lost it because a couple of nights ago, Rocket, our black and white cat, we were all sitting, we'd just finished dinner, we were just sitting down to watch some television, and he ran through the living room with an enormous mouse in his mouth. That's really hard to say. Which he brought upstairs and let go, and it ran into my craft room here, and so everything got moved because the poor little mouse, very alive, completely unharmed in any way mouse. Perhaps he thought he had to, I just thought, Mouses Makes, perhaps he thought I needed a mouse. Anyway, we caught the mouse, but a great deal of chaos was made, and it took me most of yesterday to tidy up in here. And my piece of paper has gone missing. I'm part of the reason for that may be the big sort out I'm having. I've got patterns and pattern books and magazines with patterns in that I've kept, even though there may be only one pattern in it that I want. I've got tons of them. And I decided it was time, because now, of course, I've discovered Ravelry. I really struggle to say that word. And I can buy and print patterns. So it's getting a little bit out of hand. And I decided it was time to go through them all, sort them all out, get them all properly filed. And so there's been a lot of paper all over, and I think it's probably got mixed up with those. I have found some treasures while I've been at it, and I'm nowhere near finished, but I've been going through my files. There it is again. Going through the files that I already have, I have found some real treasures, and I was going to show you. I'm getting a little bit out of sequence now. I was watching, I think it was Rox Knits, and she's doing a project where she's making a garment from every decade of the last century. And she mentioned, I'm sure it was her, she mentioned a designer called Jean Moss, who, if you were around in the 80s, was big. And it sparked a memory in me, and I went looking, and I have in fact got a Jean Moss pattern book that I bought. I had a look, and I think it's 1993. Of course, I can't find the date on it now. I'm pretty sure it was 1993. Yes. And I remember I was making, if I can find the picture for you. Nope. I was making this top, and I stopped doing it because I had a 1-year-old at the time, and it required quite a lot of concentration. And to be perfectly honest, I would still wear that now, apart from the fact that the largest size is still 10 inches too small for me, which is disappointing. But there are some gorgeous patterns in here, and I've not looked at it for years because I thought, well, they're all very dated. But some of them would stand the test of time. This one I found, and I was looking through the other day. And I think that's, you know, I think you could still knit that and wear it now without it looking like you'd escaped from a time capsule. But while I was looking at those, I found some other books. These next two books I inherited. They were given to me by my friend whose mum had died a couple of years ago, and she used to knit a lot, but my friend doesn't knit, so she gave me these books. She gave me a load of books actually, but I only kept the ones that I really wanted, and I passed the others on. So this is the Vogue knitting book, and it boasts patterns from the 1920s to the 1980s. So you can imagine there are some real doozies in here. But again, I think some of them stand the test of time. This one, for example, is the Shetland sports jumper. Well, I would knit that for someone now. But what I really love is that each pattern shows you, and I'm going to try and do it without showing you too much pattern, the original inspiration. So there's that one. I went through and I found a load, obviously, because, you know, I've not got enough to knit as it is. So I needed to find another 10 or 15 patterns that I really want to knit. There's this one. I don't know if you can see. You can see there's the original photo as well. It's knit so that I'm trying to remember, there's a pattern that I've got saved on my favourites list on Ravelry that one of the bearded pearl guys made. It's a shawl collared cardigan, and it's knit in pretty much the same technique. So I think what you do is you alternate stitches, so your main colour and your contrast colour, and then the next row you knit it all in your main colour, and then the following row you alternate again, so that you get this kind of checked effect with it coming through. This one I must show you. This is a lovely sweater, but I mean, how 1980s is that? Not sure I'd get my husband in that. I would, however, get him in this. Sorry, this is going to be like me showing you 50,000 patterns. Look at this one. I've made him a couple of those. I made him one for wearing to church because he likes to wear a shirt, and our church is freezing, absolutely freezing. That pattern is from 1947. I forgot to look and see when the others were. Oh, 1961, the checkered jumper. I made him one for work as well, was where I was going with that. This one's from 1940, and I think Ewan would love this because he's very into 40s. He's doing his hair in a very 40s style at the moment. Sorry, I'm peeking round so that I can see if you can see. I think he'd love that. That's kind of a basket weave. And then this one I thought is very on trend at the moment. It's from, let me see, 1957. But I don't know about you, haven't you seen a lot of patterns very similar to that lately? My main issue with this book is, well, with all these books, is that they don't have anything my size, because obviously people are, shall we say, better fed these days. This one as well I love. I don't know if you can see it. I'm sure I've knit in the last 10 years a contemporary pattern that was similar to this, and this one is from 1958, if you can see. It's a mock cable. That's the Vogue knitting book, with many interesting things. And this book also came from the same lady. This one is the Country Diary Book of Knitting. And one of the reasons I kept it, again, it's from the 80s, I think, 87? Yes, 1987. One of the reasons I kept it was for the illustrations. I don't know if you're familiar with the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, but it's a whole range of stuff, and it has the most beautiful illustrations. Well, see, I think that's quite contemporary as well. Do you not think that has a bit of a Stephen West vibe about it? Where are we? Sorry, I'm getting in a bit of a... because I've used the book jacket to hold it open. And this one here, I would absolutely knit and wear. This one, Hawthorn Blossom. Again, if it was in my size. It's a little cotton top. Let me find a page with illustrations for you. There are some beautiful... I think the premise is that, you know, it's somebody's diary, and they've kind of done sketches in it as they go along. But this is the sort of thing. See that's like the title page for the winter patterns. But that sort of thing is also on the pages itself. And really, oh yeah, look. I do it from back here. I mean, how gorgeous is that? I kept it as much for that as for the patterns themselves, because, as I say, they're a bit too small for me, really. They're quite a lot too small for me. But while I was at it, I found some more blasts from the past here. Are you ready for this? 80s girls, well, 70s girls, really. Leg warmers. Can't say I wore them then. Certainly not going to wear them now. But I seem to remember I bought this pattern for the gloves, because they had both a glove and a fingerless mitt with the thing that went over it. And I seem to remember I wanted that for my brother, possibly. This one I definitely knit for my brother. This one is ancient. This was 1 shilling. That's how old this one is. And that hat there, I made for my brother when he was 5. So I would have been 11. And I did him a colour work hat. And I've been knitting him hats every year since. He usually has one either for his birthday or for Christmas. And he was 51 on Tuesday. Which brings me to another thing. I rang him on Tuesday. Well, I messaged him on Tuesday to say happy birthday. And he'd forgotten it was his birthday. Now, I know his significant other. I don't think girlfriend is particularly the right term. I know she watches this. So, for goodness sake, Liz, give him a kick. His birthday's the 19th of October and he doesn't know. Half a century and he doesn't know when his birthday is. My brother is extremely clever. Very, very clever. But no common sense at all. He lives in another world. I love him dearly. And I'd fight anyone to the death who said anything bad about him. But that's the truth. Away with the fairies. Could probably solve the issues that we're having with, you know, having enough fuel to get to Mars and back again. He could probably figure that out. But he can't remember his own birthday. Anyway, I also found this pattern. And contained within this pattern is something rather special. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce the first and probably last gauge swatch I ever made. This is probably, I think I was 14 or 15, so this is about 43 years old. And I have preserved it for posterity in all that time inside the pattern. I bought this. I made a jumper, well, a cardigan, clearly it's a cardigan, for my mum for, I think, Christmas. I don't even remember if it was Christmas, her birthday or Mother's Day. But I remember going to the wool shop to buy the yarn that I made the swatch with, and spending ages choosing it and getting the ladies to help me choose the correct one. I think it's the correct yarn that the pattern prescribes, because I mean 3 Susies I don't think is in existence anymore, and it was quite expensive for me on my pocket money. And back in those days you could buy stuff on layaway and they'd even keep an extra ball back just in case you needed more than the pattern said. So that was quite a special find. So was this one, to be fair. This one, not so much. Bit of a hideous memory. But you can see, really, how well loved and well used they've been, because they're all a bit crinkly. And, I mean, gosh, look at the inside of this. It's covered in... That's red glitter glue. probably from making Christmas cards, because as I say, I was about 11, 10, 11, and he would have been 5, 4 or 5, because there's 6 years between us. And tea stains, and I'm hoping that's chocolate. Goodness knows what. So that was a little traipse down memory lane for you. Probably of no interest to you at all, but it's been quite exciting for me finding all these little treasures as I go. But I have done a little bit of knitting. Little bit. I finally got my act together and finished these socks. I haven't done badly actually, thinking about it. I cast them on the 4th. Today's the 20th, so it's taken me 2 weeks, which is quite, although I did finish them a few days ago. They've taken me longer than they usually do anyway. The pattern is my own. Basically, it's a row of 2x2 rib followed by a row of knit stitches. The yarn for the main body is Little Mouse House Birthday Bouquet, and I can't remember, it's superwash merino and nylon, but I can't remember whether it's 75 or 20 or 85, sorry. The little brown I just cast on and did one row. That is Signet Truly Woolrich in chocolate. I think I'm going to sneeze. I did indeed sneeze twice. You're welcome. Yes, on 2.25 needles, which is my favourite sock size. So that's another sock along pair of mine done. I'm also working on 2 pairs. I had an idea. I had this brilliant idea, and I spent hours, because I'm not very good with maths, working out a chart to put skulls around the top of a sock. And they looked absolutely fantastic. Let me show you the sock around which the skulls were. I say were because despite the fact I went up a needle size, and despite the fact I turned them inside out to do the colour work, I couldn't get them past my heel. So I pulled that down. And then I thought, well, I'll just do it as intarsia. But then I couldn't work out, because of course knitting in the round, normally you would go back the other way, so your yarn would be back where you needed it every time you came to it. But that doesn't work when you're knitting in the round. So then I tried double stitching it on top, and that didn't work either, because I made a mess of it. So I snipped all the threads and pulled it out. So it's now going to be a plain sock. And the sun's come out, which is annoying. Hang on a minute. Better say it's not shining on it. Oh, it is still shining on it. This is because I'm doing this much later in the day than I normally do. Because I've been messing about with this sock, because I wanted to get it nice to show you. And now we have a plain vanilla sock. So I could have just done it this morning, and then the sun wouldn't have bothered me. But never mind. And it's still coming through. But I think you can just about see, although the sun is being a bit of a nuisance, the lovely sort of, it's not this obvious in the ball, but it's got some gorgeous colours in it. And this is Rico Superbe Melange Jacquard. Do you like my French accent? In 005. How exciting. Oh, that you can see a bit better. It's darker than that, but that gives you a good idea of all the little colours that show up in it. So I'm doing those. And whilst I'm a little bit disappointed that they won't have the skulls round that I wanted for Halloween, I do need a dark pair of socks, so that's okay. Oh, and I didn't show you. On said socks is my little mummy stitch marker that my friend Nicola got me for my birthday, amongst other stitch markers. And I am knitting another pair on this torture device. Who on earth thought this was a good idea? I bought one back in the summer and I tried knitting with it, and I think the mistake I made was I cast on with it, and it was like I couldn't do it. Crazy Sock Lady uses them. It's a 9-inch circular, if you're just listening to this and wondering what the heck I'm moaning about now. Crazy Sock Lady uses them a lot, and she just whizzes through socks with them. Andrew from the Aria Bark podcast is knitting his socks on them, and I thought, no offence Andrew, but I thought, well, if Andrew can do it with his great big man hands, surely I, with my little lady hands, can do it. I cast on Magic Loop and then swapped to this because it's a toe-up sock and I just couldn't do it. I could not do it. I don't know whether it's the wire will get bendier with use or something, but it was so fiddly. I mean, ridiculously fiddly. I think I'm probably going to have to go back to Magic Loop. I don't know why I try all these different methods, because I like Magic Loop and I can do it on Magic Loop. So there's no need really for me to keep fiddling about with things. But I do, because I want to be one of the cool kids. I'm not one of the cool kids. I've left the pattern downstairs, so I can't remember what it's called. Birds in Flight or something? Can't remember. I'll post a link to it in the description box, because I can't remember who it's by either. But I do know it was a free pattern. It was a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'm hoping you can see, because I've only done a few rows. Can you see? Now, they're meant to be birds, but I thought, as it's my Halloween socks, they'd do for bats as well. They could be little bats flying. And on this sock, I've got, again from my friend Nicola, little witch's hat with a pumpkin hanging off. I nearly said melon then. It's probably time I had another cup of coffee. Little witch's hat with a pumpkin, and the yarn I'm using, which, let me turn it around so you can see it in all its beauty, is full of the most gorgeous colours. Cover my face up. And this is by the extremely clever Danny, I think it was Danny that made this one, of My Yarny Corner fame, and this is their Toil and Trouble colourway. It is just beautiful. There's purples and electric blues and teal and greens. There's even a little bit of an orangey in there. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, that helps you to see it well. Get a grip, woman. So, those are my Halloween socks, and that's pretty much, well, to be fair, I've knit this about, this is the 4th time now. So to be fair, I've done a fair amount of knitting, I just haven't got anything to show for it. The rest of my knitting time has been taken up with the famous Stephen West Shawlography MCal, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So, I think I've said everything else that I needed to. Pretty sure. Let me check. Yes. So, for those of you who don't want to see it, I will say bye-bye, and I will see you next week. The sun's creeping in again. This is why I film in the mornings, because by this time of day the sun's come round and it shines straight through this window. which you would think would be good, but it's not, because it's too stark a contrast and the camera can't cope. It's better to have it dark and it brightens it up, which makes me a proper carrot top ginger, but I can live with that. I don't mind. I quite like it, actually. Yes, distracted again. So, if you don't want to see Stephen West, this is your 2-minute warning, and it's going to be less than 2 minutes. See you next week, and happy knitting to you. Right. If you are still here, I will give you the 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, last chance to go if you don't want to see it. 1. Are you ready? Here it comes. It's getting hard to get it all in now. Now, this is all of clues 1 and 2. I'm completely up to date and waiting for Friday for clue 3. So clue 1 took us to here. That was clue 1. That was up to section 4. This is section 5, 6, 7, and the bubbles were section 8. Until we got to the end of section 8, I was loving it. I was thinking, this man is a genius. This is pure artistry. These things serve no functional purpose. They are there for their beauty. He's just a genius. And then we came to section 9. And the more I knit on it, the more my hitherto beautiful shawl became, in my eyes, hideous. And I'm kind of stuck at hideous at the moment. And it's not really anything to do with the design. It is purely to do with my colours and my placement of those colours. We were doing okay until we got to here, and I'm sure the reason is my mum had a saying that I have also stuck by, which was red and green should never be seen. But it is allowable at Christmas. But that, to me, I mean, it's not really, it's purple, I suppose. I actually prefer, this is the wrong side. I prefer the wrong side. I just don't like those two colours together. And there are places in the pattern where you can add in an extra colour. But I don't think adding an extra colour in would have helped. I just wished that was a more, I don't know, can you call, I mean, that the navy and cream would have been better, I think. I don't even mind the purple and the gold so much, but the purple and the green, I just don't like it. So I'm waiting for Friday to see if the whole thing redeems itself with whatever the next section is, because at the moment it is definitely, I call these bits the wings, it is definitely this section that has essentially ruined it for me. Yeah, but that's nothing to do with Stephen West or the design. It's to do with my choice of, or my allocation of letters to colours, so that when you get to this section, the two letters that you need for this section just happen to be two colours that I'm not awfully keen on having together. But that would have happened at some point during the shawl, because as he says, all the colours are going to dance together at some point. So yeah, if I'm insane enough to knit it again, no, that's not fair, because I have enjoyed knitting it. I've enjoyed Are they new techniques? There's a couple of techniques I've not used before. So I've enjoyed learning those. And this was the trickiest one. This section here was the trickiest. And I will admit he does an excellent tutorial video for each clue. And the section on this bit I had to watch 3 or 4 times before I could really twig what it was he wanted me to do. But once I'd got my head around that, I was away. Nothing on it is terribly complicated, in as much as once you've got whatever this particular technique you need for that section is, once you've got that sorted in your mind, it's very repetitive. So it's not one of those patterns where you have to constantly keep going back to the pattern to see, well, how many stitches am I supposed to do, and then what have I got to do? It's quite a relaxing knit, actually, particularly as he pretty much holds your hand all the way through it. Had I known what it was going to look like before I started it, I may not have knit it at all. If I'm honest, I would certainly have chosen different colours. I know I shopped from Stash, and so these were the colours that I had in Stash, and so I picked colours that would go together. But I did have other options that I could have used. Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking about the other options I had and thinking, well, which colours would I swap out for what? And I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that I would have done, if I'm honest. Because that's the whole point of a Stephen West design, isn't it? It's all very loud, for want of a better word, and in your face. And I mean, not all his designs are like that, obviously, but something like this is meant to be a bit of a showpiece. So yeah, probably would still have gone with the same colours. And I was loving it until this section, and it is purely this section is the one that's turned me against it. So I don't know, it will very much depend what colour is required for the next section. Not even so much what the next section is stitch wise, it will be the next colour that makes or breaks it, I think. And I'm hoping, looking at what we've just used, that it will be the cream or the navy, preferably the cream, to kind of tone down the wings. But we'll see. We shall see. All will be revealed to those of us that are doing it on Friday. And then I may grow to love it again. I may think it's just as hideous, if not worse. But either way, I'll finish it, because it's half done now, really, isn't it? And I am enjoying the knitting of it. I just wish I didn't have a thing about those particular colours. Sorry, Poppy just came flying. I can see sort of the patio, and Poppy came flying and distracted me, which is easily done. Right. And I've bent the thing now. Okay, I've waffled, definitely waffled for too long now, so I am going to go. Thank you for joining me. Thank you very much for sticking with it, and thank you to the new subscribers who have come on board since last week. Hopefully you will stick around, and if this isn't for you, that's fine. I watch a lot of podcasts, but there are also a lot that aren't for me, so it's horses for courses, I think. Anyway, thank you again for joining me. I will see you next week, unless you're in the sock along group, in which case I'll see you tomorrow. And until then, happy knitting.